Hey guys, welcome back. I was sorry, might look a little different. I shaved, got a haircut. Uh, sorry for the April Fool's joke. But anyway, couple things I want to talk about. First of all, sixth hour, 100% of turning in my please do this assignment. Thank you very much. Second hour, 100% turning in the please do this assignment. Fifth hour, two people have not turned it in. Kenny, turn it in. I know I've corresponded with you, so I'm not terribly worried about it. But and if anybody could, Mally, if anybody could tell her to turn that in, that'd be great. That would be 100% for fifth hour. I always thought during fifth hour, if we could cut these off partway through, like 1 minute early, and go to lunch and then come back, so we could have split lunch. Sorry. Continue to email me what you're doing, how you're doing, things like that. I'm telling you how I'm doing. In fact, I think next week I'm going to make you guys do a video about what's going on and maybe with some assignment you got to give, whatever. It'd be nice to kind of see your faces and stuff like that. So today, one other thing. Some of you guys haven't sent me, like, Avery, I know you got to have some good movies if you like Pulp Fiction, man. I mean, send me your list. I don't think I got it. I got some. Bradley, haven't gotten yours. Kay, I've got a list from you. Ashley, Grace, I don't know if I want to see your list because it's probably a bunch of movies I don't want to see, but that's okay. I still be curious. Sullivan, give me your list. Now, some of you guys I can't remember. Man, I got a lot. I like. But anyway, just so you guys know, my list, I did it at kind of on a whim. Did it in about 5 minutes. Then I did a comedy list, and I had to try to think of my top 10 comedy movies. So and I made it. I made like 25 of them, and I whittled it down to 10, and then I got some honorable mentions. So here we go. My number 10 comedy movie, The Naked Gun. Files from the Police Squad, Leslie Nielsen. Question of whether to put Airplane in there or not, but Leslie Nielsen, Naked Gun, they're kind of similar. I liked Airplane too, but that was a little before my time. Naked Gun was right around when I was immature in middle school and stuff like that. Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler. That was when I was in college and still immature. We were quoting that quite a bit, acting and running around trying to hit golf balls like Happy Gilmore. Dumb and Dumber, again, college time, quite immature. By the way, if you go to Estes Park, the Stanley Hotel, this is where they filmed. When I got out to Colorado, that's where they filmed it. That's where I went on the Friday or the Saturday and Sunday of spring break. Didn't stay in the Stanley Hotel though. Number 7, Christmas Vacation. Obviously, I don't even need to talk about it, but I have bought my brother a set of moose mugs that cousin Eddie and Clark were drinking out of. Blazing Saddles. That's Mel Brooks. I don't know how appropriate that is. It's maybe behind the times a little bit, but man, that's a funny movie. Number 5, Tommy Boy. Chris Farley, God rest his soul, man. That guy killed me. In fact, I even DVR the best of Chris Farley off of Saturday Night Live. He's one of my favorites. Tommy Boy is my favorite movie that he's ever made. Number 4, Ghostbusters. Obviously, talked about that before. Now my top 3. Number 3, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That stars John Candy and Steve Martin. John Candy was Chris Farley before Chris Farley, and he also has since passed away, but oh my goodness, some of the things that happen in that movie. In fact, the quote, "Those aren't pillows." If you've ever seen it, that probably crack you up right there. Number two, Trading Places. I doubt that's Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. I doubt if you've seen that. I'd be impressed if you had. To me, that is one of the funniest movies you could find. It's kind of a difference between the old generation and the younger generation, and it's great. And my number one comedy movie is Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. The barbershop scenes are probably best scenes funny scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and we just quote them all the time. Joe Louis, the greatest fighter ever lived. Of course, I cannot do it as well, but and kind of on that comedy thing, I had you guys listen to that podcast, and go listen to that podcast and listen to some more of those, because they're talking about being on the edge. And a lot of these movies, like Trading Places and Coming to America and Blazing Saddles, they're right on the edge. Even Dumb and Dumber does that, to where you're almost uncomfortable, which makes it funny. So anyway, on with the show. This is it. We talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs the last time, and I'm going to come back to our assignment in a bit, but we're going to talk about Carl Rogers. Remember, we're talking about humanism. Humanism. I'm going to even go back to, let's see. Humanism teaches that people shape their personalities through free choice and action. So basically, when we're talking about that, this is you create your own personality. Nobody else does. Now, you might see other things and everything, but you create it. And Carl Rogers believed that we are that people are conscious architects of their own personalities, and that people are good. People are naturally good, and people choose their personalities. But again, you are responsible for the choices. And one of the things that Carl Rogers really talks about is self-esteem. That people create self-esteem, and parents can create high self-esteem with their children through positive regard. Okay, unconditional positive regard. They accept you for who you are, and sometimes parents they don't necessarily accept their kids for who they are. And I'll give you an example. I had to kind of learn that over the course of time. Now with each of my two boys, and they've grown up and everything, but my oldest son, he and I, like we're different, man. We're different people, and for a little while when he was in fourth, fifth grade, it was like, of course, I want him to be a football player, and I want him to be a certain way. And I know some of you guys probably dream that for your kids. And sometimes your kids, uh, they create their own personality, they create their own beliefs and things like that. And it took me a bit to realize that this is who he is, and I've got to accept who he is. And he's not me. He's not like me. The way we responded to different situations were completely different. And once I began to treat him with unconditional positive regard for no matter what he did, that really kind of changed some things for him and probably for me. And well, he's grown up to be somebody really completely different than who I am, and thank goodness, because he'd be stuck being me. Um, and so my other son, we seem to have a personality that's almost identical, but he eventually starts doing things he wants to do, and accepting people for who they are, or especially your kids, accepting them for who they are. That's kind of tough, but it is possible, and it creates more positive self-esteem for children and stuff like that. So, all right, evaluating the approach to humanism. It's positive because it talks about having a sense of self, and we really believe in human freedom. We're different than the animals. We have freedom to make choices. And so those are the positive things. The negative things about the humanistic approach is it fails to account for how traits and personality types develop, which is the same as some of the other approaches. All right, so the last one we're going to talk about is sociocultural psychology. Um, this focuses on the roles of ethnicity, gender, and culture to form personality. And when you talk about that, and we talk about this all the time when we talk about sociocultural psychology, is there a personality of women, a personality of men? I think most people might agree with that. But even with ethnicity and race, is there a behavior of, is there a a way that white people act? Is there a way that black people act? Is there a way that Hispanics act? And this is worldwide, people from South America and Europe. And I think the answer is yes. And I'm going to give you an example of that. I'll never forget being at the Black History Month assembly, and Mr. Parrish was up there as the MC. Did a great job too, man. I had not heard Mr. Parrish, uh, leading something and talking that much to the students. I thought that was pretty cool. Some of you guys that uh, play sports under him have probably have, but I hadn't. So, but he did a great job. But anyway, he talked about music in the African American culture. Music is very, very important, and it is. I mean, music is tremendously important in the African American culture, and that doesn't mean that all African Americans are, getting down on music, and that all the white people don't like music or anything like that. But it is just something that's important, and so you'll find it more and more in the African American culture and certain types of music and everything. So that's an example of how sociocultural psychology affects affects uh, people and their behavior and personality. Okay, so the belief of this is social and cultural factors impact individuals' self-esteem. For example, members of an ethnic group subject to discrimination and poverty may have a lower self esteem. And that might be one of the things that goes on in our society, that we have some groups, and it might be ethnic groups, it might be uh, sociocultural, but economic culture or something like that, that when you're in poverty, and some of the things that ways people talk about people in poverty and treat people in poverty and stuff like that might create a lower self-esteem, which creates some different type of personality. And having a lower self-esteem doesn't necessarily mean you have a bad personality, but it creates the personality. Okay. Um, and another way that this might happen is in different countries. Um, this is individualism versus collectivism. In the United States, we're more individualistic. And we're about what we are going to achieve. Even our self actualization and stuff like that, becoming somebody great, becoming somebody that we important. Okay, we're about individual achievement, individual honors, and not so much about group work. Although we do have group work and stuff like that, and sometimes our individualism creates that group work. But if you look at the United States compared to some other countries like in South America and in Africa, they have collectivism, and it's all about the group and what the group does and creates. And so that's part of personality too. Um, there was a survey. We'll go back to, because I want to go back here to members of ethnic groups that are subject to discrimination and poverty may have a lowered self-esteem. Well, guess what? There was a survey that came out and it found that African American girls were more likely to be happy with their appearance than white girls. And, think for a minute, why would white girls not be happy with their appearance? And because you would probably say they are they are not in the discriminated group and stuff like that. They have all this self-esteem. They have all this confidence because they're not discriminated against. But for some reason, white girls are not as happy as African American girls with their appearance. And part of the reasons that in class I would ask these questions, and you geniuses would start coming up with reasons and stuff like that. Um, it's and the answer is they blame themselves for not attaining the media goal. If you watch a show, a historical drama, from the 1600s, all of the women are skinny and gorgeous. I mean, all the actresses that are on movies and TVs are just ridiculously skinny. Um, you open up a magazine, and most of the girls are white, and that has changed. Don't get me wrong, this has changed in the last 10, 20 years. But if you look in the past, man, almost all the models were white, skinny, uh, and basically, I talk to people like, man, how does this girl's beautiful and everything? How does she get like that? Let me tell you something. When you're a model, that's your job. 8 hours a day is your job is to take care of your body. So they're at the gym, they're eating, that's like their entire job is to look like that, and they have to sculpt their body like that. 99% of us don't have the time to look that way. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people that naturally have that type of body, but 99% of us don't. Some of the other reasons, Barbie has this, where there's not fat Barbie, you know, they probably have to use too much plastic and it would cost more, but there's not big fat Barbie. All right. There is this skinny. They say if they took the shape of Barbie and made it into a human being, it would look like the ugliest thing on earth. But that's what we see. Today, those are changing. We're getting more full-figured models and things like that. We get songs like "Baby Got Back" and stuff, but also looking at the African American side, African American women tend to have more confidence and they don't worry about appearance. In fact, it's not so much about appearance, although their appearance is important. Don't get me wrong, but it's almost about personality and things like that. So sometimes we say, self-esteem because of discrimination, but it also goes the other way. So then we talk about acculturalization. It's the process of adapting to a new or different culture. And with acculturalization, you think of somebody who goes home, and we have several students like that. Um, you know, uh, um, who go home and they basically have one culture, then they come to school and they have another culture. All right. And these cultures mix together and stuff like that and creates acculturalization. So that ends this. I don't have a graphic organizer for section uh, 4 here, but here's what I want you to do. I had you guys do an assignment of goals of life. All right. I'm going to make a different one. And this is really the one that I messed up when I talked to you. I talked about goals of life and stuff like that. Um, a lot of you guys put things like I want to go to other countries. I want to have some type of car. I want to start a family. Listen, starting a family is easy. I don't want to go into details, but it doesn't have to. It's not real hard to have a kid. Everybody can have a kid. Everybody can start a family. What are you going to do in that family? And so I'm going to put a new one up there. Go ahead and finish the goals of life, and I'm curious to see what goals you have. But this one is going to be keys to success. What do you need to be successful? And what I don't want to hear, and I'm going to give you one. If you want to put, I got to have money, I got to have money. Here's one of them: financial responsibility. All right, put financial responsibility, have financial responsibility on there, and then don't tell me about money. All right, because it doesn't matter. Keys to success. Some of you guys think you got to make all kinds of money to be successful. And you don't. Listen, you can make. Uh, $30,000 a year for the rest of your life and you can have a happy life. You can be successful. All right. Um, I'm a teacher. All right. I don't make, one of the things about being a teacher, they say you don't get paid very much. You get paid enough. I want to tell you that. But, like, oh, I don't want to be a teacher. They don't get enough money. Guys, I'm as happy as I could be. And my life, I feel like, is as successful as it can be. Can I be better? Of course. But I don't need more money to be more successful. All right. In fact, I could make less money and be just as successful. All right. I'm able to function in my job. I'm able to function in my family. I'm able to function in my community and have an impact. Okay. Money is not what creates success. I know we see that in athletes like, Patrick Mahomes is going to sign this contract and he's going to sign the richest contract in the history of the NFL. But is that what made him successful? No. It is his drive and everything that got him to that point. That's a reward. That's an end game. All right. End game. Sorry. But anyway, that's what happens with these keys to success. Is now he's gonna receive that money, that contract. Okay. Um, Going places in the world. You can pay money, jump on a plane, go to a place in the world. I mean, these are more things. One of the ones I have on mine is serve God, serve others. All right, give great effort. These are things that it doesn't matter what I do. If I'm a trash truck driver, if I'm a truck driver, if if I clean out those Johnny on the jobs or something, I do the same thing no matter what I'm doing. Okay. So I want you guys to give me a list of 10 keys to your success. 10 keys to your success. And that's going to be a separate one. All right. Um, this is one I'd like you to do. Okay. I'm going to throw that on there. And just so you guys know, with my sociology class, we're going to do a Zoom meeting tomorrow and see how that goes. I've got to get the kinks out. Maybe next week we'll get together as each hour's class and do a Zoom meeting. So anyway, have a great day, and I guess you guys have a weekend or something like that. I'm getting settled into my house, so I'm probably gonna start getting bored. Later, guys.